My name is Chloe, I'm 27 years old and I live with my husband Nathan in a small wooden house on the outskirts of Asheville, North Carolina. People always say our home looks romantic, like a peaceful painting nestled among tall pine trees and birdsong in the morning. They call us the perfect couple, Nathan with his warm smile and me, always gently walking beside him in the evenings around the lake. But that was just a beautiful curtain I once tried to keep from being pulled back. We've been married for 1 year. 1 year is long enough to realize that love without honesty and care will rot in the silence no one dares to break. When we first met, Nathan was like a spring breeze. Thoughtful, gentle, always making me feel like I was the only woman in the world. He came into my life one evening at a local art exhibit. I was working there as a program coordinator and kids art teacher. I used to think finding a man who truly understood me was a blessing. I was wrong. 6 months after the wedding, Nathan no longer made me feel safe. He came home later, sometimes saying nothing, just dropped his bag on the chair and turned the TV up loud. Some nights when I tried to ask how his day was, he'd glance at me, nod half-heartedly, then retreat into silence. I didn't know when the warmth in his eyes had been replaced with something so cold it scared me. I remember the first time he spoke to me with that bitter tone. "Can you stop pretending? No one needs you to act happy." I froze. In that moment I had no idea what I'd done wrong. I didn't leave right away because I still had hope. Every time Nathan softened, held me and said, "I'm just tired," I convinced myself it would be okay. I started blaming myself. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I wasn't enough. But no matter how hard I tried to hold on to dinner conversations or simple moments of connection, everything fell into silence. One day I made his favorite meatball soup, lit candles, played the song he loved. He walked into the kitchen, glanced at the table and silently opened the fridge to grab a soda. "Don't overdo it, Chloe," he said, not even looking at me. "Everything you're trying? It's pointless." My heart felt crushed. Not by his words, but by the way he didn't care. I started feeling like a stranger in my own home. Every morning I woke up, I had to choose between staying silent to keep the peace, or speaking up and getting that same cold stare from the man I once trusted. The tenderness we once had only existed in my memory, and I felt completely lost in this marriage. Then, on our first wedding anniversary, Nathan told me to pack a bag. He had a surprise. "A trip," he said. "I want us to go back to where it all began, where we first camped together," Nathan said, something unreadable flickering in his eyes. I was confused, but I nodded. Even with doubt filling my heart, I held on to a sliver of hope. Maybe this was the start of something new. But deep down, I couldn't shake the growing unease. I didn't know that trip would mark the moment I would never be the same again. Nathan chose Pine Grove Falls, over 2 hours from our house, nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains. That was where he took me on our first camping trip after we met. I remember sitting on a moss-covered rock, my hand in his, listening to the roar of the waterfall like nature's own symphony. I thought if any place could bring emotions back, it was there. We left early. On the drive I tried to start conversations, but Nathan only gave short, distant responses. He barely glanced at me. Familiar country music played in the car, but unlike before, neither of us sang along. The silence was so thick I could hear my own heartbeat every time he sped up. When we turned onto the dirt road leading to the trail, a chill crept into my chest despite the summer heat. Nathan parked under a big oak tree, then pulled a backpack and water bottle from the trunk. "Let's go, it's not far," he said, still avoiding my eyes. The trail was steep but surrounded by tall trees. Everything looked calm and still. I followed him quietly, ignoring the harsh sunlight bouncing off his dark blue shirt, the one I gave him last Christmas. As we neared the waterfall, its thunderous sound echoed through the forest, strong, overwhelming, haunting. Nothing had changed. The same stone ledge by the falls, the same maple tree casting shadows on the clear water. I stepped closer to the edge, took a deep breath. "We used to sit here," I whispered, trying to hold on to a piece of what we had. Nathan stood behind me, silent. Then his voice came. Lower. Different. "Chloe, have you ever wondered if things would have been different if it hadn't all started here?" I turned around, puzzled. "What do you mean?" Wind swept through, tossing my hair into the air. His eyes locked on mine. Not cold anymore, but hollow. "I've been thinking a lot," Nathan said, monotone like he'd rehearsed it. "About life, bad choices, being trapped. I took a step back, my palms starting to sweat. Nathan, if something's wrong, we can talk. We can. No, Chloe, we can't. He cut me off, eyes finally meeting mine. I didn't bring you here to fix anything. I came to end it. I didn't even have time to understand before it happened. Nathan stepped forward, his hand on my shoulder, not gentle, but with a sudden push that knocked me off balance. I felt my body tilt back, the sound of the waterfall roaring in my ears, drowning out my scream. In a flash, the sky flipped, and I slammed into the freezing water. Shock took over. I thrashed, struggling to reach the surface. The slippery rocks underfoot gave no grip. Water poured into my mouth, my nose. I panicked, but amid the chaos, a faint voice echoed in my mind. My mother's voice. Calm down, Chloe. Don't fight the water. Let it carry you. I closed my eyes, forced my body to relax. I felt myself drifting in the current, not knowing how long it took before my hand caught onto a floating branch. I pulled myself onto a mossy riverbank, shaking, dizzy. My clothes were torn, my palms scraped, my breath ragged, but I was still alive. And in that moment, between the rushing water and wind in the trees, I knew one thing. Nathan wasn't angry. He had planned it. Every step. Every detail. He didn't want me coming back. But I was still here. I wasn't done. And I wouldn't let things end the way he wanted. I dragged myself along the creekside, soaked clothes clinging to me, my knees bloodied, hands scraped raw from grabbing slippery roots and rocks. Every step felt like dragging a dead weight. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. Nathan thought I was gone, and if I revealed myself too soon, he'd win. After nearly an hour pushing through thick woods, I spotted a narrow trail with tire tracks. In the distance, I heard an engine, a lifeline pulling me from the edge of fear. I limped toward the sound, burst out of the trees, waving wildly, throat dry as I shouted, "Please, stop." A rusty old pickup screeched to a halt a few yards away. A man in his 50s wearing a plaid shirt and a ball cap jumped out. "Good Lord, are you okay?" I nodded weakly, grabbing the car door. I fell, near Pine Grove Falls. Please, don't ask anything. I just need to call a friend. Without hesitation, he opened the passenger door and helped me climb in. "Name's Bill, I live nearby. There's a little roadside diner down the way. Signal's better there. I'll take you." I didn't say another word on the way. Only one name echoed in my mind. Grace. The only person I trusted, my best friend since college. I knew if anyone could help me, it was her. When we got to the diner, I borrowed Bill's phone and dialed Grace. "Chloe," her voice was panicked. "Oh my gosh, what's wrong with your voice?" "No time. Nathan tried to hurt me. Can you come get me? I'm at Pine Grove Deli about an hour outside Asheville. Don't tell anyone, please." She was silent for a moment, then firmly said, "I'm on my way. Keep the line open, don't hang up." Bill handed me a wool cardigan and brought over a mug of hot cocoa. Then he quietly sat in the corner without asking a single question. I sat there gripping the cup, my eyes staring blankly at the foggy window. I knew deep down, ever since the moment Nathan pushed me over that waterfall, I was no longer the same Chloe. A little over an hour later, the diner door swung open. Grace walked in, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on me. She froze, then rushed over and wrapped me in a trembling hug. Chloe, I thought you..." "I'm okay. I'm still here. But Nathan thinks I'm not. And I need to keep it that way." On the drive back, I told Grace everything, my voice rough, but the memories etched in my mind. She didn't interrupt, just held my hand tightly. When we reached Grace's place, a small third-floor apartment in a quiet complex, she wrapped me in warm blankets and gave me painkillers. "Are you going to the police?" she asked. I shook my head. "Not yet. If I report it now, Nathan will deny everything. And who's going to believe a wife who suddenly reappears after vanishing?" Grace let out a heavy breath. "So what's your plan?" "To play dead," I said firmly. "I need time to gather evidence, find a lawyer and expose him, the right way." Grace nodded slowly. "Okay. You're not alone, I've got you." 3 days later, we had a plan. Grace's Aunt Lorraine lived alone in the Smoky Mountains, where cell signal was weak and visitors were rare. I'd stay there under a different name, Grace would pack up my things, erase my tracks, and spread the word that I went missing after a hiking trip. That night, as I stared at the dim light filtering through the curtains, I knew. The game had begun. Nathan had chosen his role as the grieving husband. I'd be the quiet force rewriting the whole play. I wasn't the woman trembling in the freezing water anymore. I was a survivor, and I was going to make him face every secret he thought was buried for good. Lorraine's small wooden cabin sat hidden in the misty Smoky Mountain forest, nearly 20 miles from the nearest town. No cell service, no internet, no one knew I was there except Grace. It was so quiet I could hear the wind whistle through the windows each night, the sound of my heartbeat echoing in the empty room, and all the memories I never asked for creeping in. I spent the first 3 weeks just recovering. My knee needed 8 stitches, my shoulder was bruised, and my palms were torn up from clawing at tree roots trying to climb out. But physical pain was nothing compared to what I carried inside. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Nathan's face as he pushed me. Not wild or out of control, but cold and calculating, certain no one would ever find out. But I was alive, and I wasn't about to let this disappear into silence. Grace became my lifeline to the outside world. She returned to my apartment with Nathan, pretending to retrieve a few old belongings. With careful precision, she snuck out my laptop, a lockbox of important documents hidden behind a false drawer, and a hard drive I used to back up everything: photos, voice recordings, journals, scans of texts. In Lorraine's attic room, I rebuilt everything: timelines, memories, details of a marriage that seemed peaceful on the surface. On the laptop, I found emails from Nathan to a woman named Rachel W. Short messages, often referencing "once this is over." I didn't know who she was, but something told me Rachel was key. I reviewed old photos. Bruises on my wrists, mirror selfies I took whenever Nathan got angry. Once, I even filmed a short video of him yelling at me over burnt eggs. I kept it as proof in case something bad ever happens. I never expected it would become crucial to a future plan. Grace connected me with a lawyer named Elijah Turner, a domestic abuse specialist in his 30s who grew up watching his mother suffer. We communicated through encrypted emails and a secure platform Elijah set up to keep my location hidden. Each day passed with tension and planning. I couldn't afford a single mistake. We started gathering witnesses. Grace contacted Amanda, a former colleague who once witnessed Nathan shouting at me in a gallery meeting. Amanda agreed to write a statement, describing how I ran out mid-meeting, clearly frightened. Elijah insisted on complete secrecy, no public action, no hint that I was alive. "Want to land the final blow?" he said. "Let him think he's winning." And he did. Grace forwarded me a text Nathan had sent her. Maybe Chloe had an accident, but if she really disappeared, maybe that's a peaceful end. I read that line over and over, every word sliced through my heart. He wasn't grieving. He wasn't scared. Nathan was performing the guilty husband whose wife vanished. And that only made me more certain I had to tear that mask off before he took another step. One night, as the wind rattled the roof, I called Elijah over the secure line. "I have an idea," I said. "I want him to reveal his real face." "Chloe, that's risky. If he finds out you're alive." "That's why it has to be subtle. I won't show up, but we'll let him think someone out there knows more than he realized." I pictured the trap: an anonymous letter, a mysterious note in Nathan's mailbox, a fake witness claiming they saw me after the disappearance, a mind game to rattle him. We started with the simplest move: an unmarked envelope in Nathan's mailbox. Inside was a blurry photo from a distance: a woman at a bus stop in Waynesville, curly hair, beige cardigan, head slightly down. Not clear enough to confirm it was me, but enough to shake someone who thought I was gone.